Hello everyone, welcome to online classes of Anjuman Polytechnic. My name is Afshan Siddiqui from Computer Science Department. Today we'll discuss about that is your Unit 6 Security and Law. So why do we need security? That is nowadays internet is a vast ocean, so we need security in terms of cyber crimes and frauds. So one of the biggest legal challenges posed by the internet is the source of jurisdiction of the court to decide and determine disputes that occur as a result of the use of internet facilities. So here what it means, for example, if a local dispute has occurred, so it will be dealt by the local judges, that is court, local court will do the in terms of internet, if it is not in terms of internet, if the person, for example, I have bought something that is from, I have bought something from another country, I have found a defect in that product. So in that case, what will happen? I cannot file a complaint. So where should I file a complaint? Whether in my country or other countries. So that is nothing but source of jurisdiction. So there are various regulations in India. So the Indian government has laid the foundation of the required legal framework in the form of Information Technology Act 2000 that was brought in the year 2000. It includes laws and policies concerning data security and crimes. So what is this Information Technology Act 2000? So it deals with, so there are various sections are there in this, like section 43 is there, 65 is there, 66 and 72. So according to this first section, that is section 43, it deals with if an unauthorized person accesses any computer or downloads it and has the bad intention of introducing virus in that computer, so he or she is liable to punishment, that is up to, he should pay a penalty of up to 10 lakh rupees. So next one, tampering with the source code. So tampering is in the sense that changing, destroying or deleting. So anyone who purposely hides, destroys or alters computer source code shall be punishable with imprisonment of 3 years or fine of lakh, 2 lakhs or both. So this is tampering. So if anyone purposely or with the bad intention, what he will do for source code, he will alters the source code. So that is tampering with the source code. So next one, section 66, it deals with hacking. A person who commits hacking with the intention of causing damage to person, destroys, deletes, alters any information on a computer shall be punishable with imprisonment of 3 years or fine of 2 lakhs or both. So if any person, he has a bad intention and his intention is to delete or destroy any information on the computer, so that person hacks another person's computer and he or she may steal the information. So like that hacking is performed. So if that is the case, they are liable to punishment of about 3 years or 2 lakh fine. So next one, breach of confidentiality and privacy. So a person who has secured access to any sensitive information discloses these to any other person, he will be punished with imprisonment of 2 years or fine of up to 10 lakh rupees or both. So IT Act 2000 and cybercrime. So what is cybercrime now? Cybercrime is criminal activities carried out by means of computer or the internet. So by making use of computer and internet, so if any crime is performed or carried out, that is nothing but cybercrime. So the most common cyber crimes nowadays are introducing of viruses into others' computer, corruption of data, fraudery, robbery and forgery. So internet is made up of computers, so crimes occurring on the internet are called computer crimes. So by making use of computers, if you are committing a crime, then that crime is called as a computer crime. So here you can call a computer can be a subject of crime in the sense that if your computer is stolen or something like that, then it is termed as subject of crime, or your computer can be a site of crime. So by making use of your computer, a fraud is committed or a copyright violation is committed, or it can be instrument of crime. So your computer can be made used as an instrument of crime. So the IT Act does not define the word cybercrime, but it provides definition and punishment for certain offences such as tampering, hacking and cybercrime, and not all crimes. For example, if a person threatens another person through the internet, he is punished under the IPC and not under the IT Act. So there are many acts are there. Further we will study. So here all the acts are not punished in this IT Act. So some of the acts are some of the crimes are punished under this IPC Act, that is Indian Penal Code. So if a person cheats another person on the internet, he is punished under IPC and not under the IT Act. So next one, Indian Contract Act. So why do we need a Contract Act in this internet? So because as you can see, many other countries are working, foreign countries, what they do is, they do offshoring. Offshoring means what? Due to lack of manpower or due to lack of resources, they will shift some part of their work to other country. That is nothing but offshoring. In that case, this Contract Act comes under significance. So when one person obtains the permission from another person to do or not to do anything, he is said to be, he is said to make a proposal. So when one person, what he does is, he is giving permission to another person to do this or not to do this, that is called as proposal. So a proposal, when accepted, it becomes a promise. So if a person, and if I am offering a proposal to any other person, he accepts that proposal, then it becomes a promise. A person making the proposal is called a promiser, and accepting one, it is called a promisee. So every set of promises is called agreement. So an agreement enforceable by law is void, and the enforceable by law is called a contract. So here a contract is a legally binding agreement between two or more persons. For example, purchasing goods or borrowing money. So here as I said, offshoring work will be done. So if if one company is there, they are working both in two different countries, so they want to sign the contract. So contracts are signed by means of internet only. So a contract, it is a binding agreement between these two persons or companies. So violation of contract, here it is called breach of contract. Violation in the sense, if you are breaking the contract, so that is called as breach of contract. So and either party may follow legal remedies. So damages. A party which breaks the contract is liable to pay damages or compensation to other party. Next one, that is Indian Penal Code. So it has two sections, that is section 406 and section 420. So section 406, it deals with punishment for criminal breach of trust. In case of any person who has been entrusted with property, makes wrongful use of property, then such a person commits criminal breach of contract. Here for example, I have given one person something, I have entrusted one person of this. So what he will do, he will make wrongful use of that property. So that is nothing but he is committing a crime, that is criminal breach of trust. Here imprisonment of up to 3 years or fine or both is he is liable to be punishable. Next section 420, it deals with cheating and dishonesty. Under this section, any person who cheats or alters or destroys valuable property shall be punished. So here in this case, punishment is about 7 years or fine or both. So next one, Consumer Protection Act. So why we are learning about Consumer Protection Act in this internet? Because nowadays e-commerce is common, as e-commerce is nothing but buying and selling of goods through internet. So here this act come under significance. So this act protects the consumers from exploitation and saves them from substandard goods and services. Means what? If a person is trying to sell goods of not standard goods, so it will this act will protect the consumer. So who is a consumer here? A consumer is the one who is buying the goods or selling, buying the goods, and he is paying the money for that. So and it is not only buying, so he can hire services. For example, you can through online you can book a cab, that is nothing but you are hiring a service there. So now who can file a complaint? A consumer can file a complaint if he is not satisfiable by his product. Any consumer association can file a complaint. Central or state government can file a complaint. And in case death of a person, his legal representative can file a complaint. So what constitutes a consumer complaint? If you have suffered loss or damage, in the case by getting a product, if you have suffered loss from that or damage from that, then you are able to file the complaint. If the goods purchased suffers from any defect, I have purchased some goods and those are defective, in that case I can file a complaint. If the services hired have deficiencies, if you have been charged a piece in excess of the price fixed, so some fixed price is there for a particular product, and if you have been charged more than that, then also you are able to file a complaint if the goods or services are hazardous to life and safety. So after filing a complaint, what are the relief available to consumers? So first one, removable of defects from goods and services. So if your if your product is defective, it can be removed. Replacement of goods. So I have bought a product, so it is defective, that product can be replaced. Refund of price. So your money you can get back your money. Award of compensation for loss or injury. Buy a product, if I have dealt with any injury, then you can receive a compensation also. So to withdraw hazardous goods, to issue corrective advertisement to neutralize the effect of misleading advertisement. So next, electronic mail. So one of the most popular services on the internet is electronic mail, that is we are using in our day-to-day life to send and receive messages, that is electronic mail. It is designed as a straightforward extension of the traditional office memo to allow a person to communicate with other people. So an individual creates a message and specifies other individual as recipient. So here in electronic mail, what you are doing? So you will create a message to whom you want to send that particular individual is specified as recipient. The email software transmits a copy of the message to each recipient. So you can send the email what you have created, you can send it to one person or more. So that email software, what it does, it transmits a copy of the message to each recipient. So next, electronic mail system evolved from original design and are automated to permit more complex interactions. For example, a company can establish a computer program that responds automatically to requests for information that arrive in mail messages. So user sends an email request to the program and receives the desired information in a reply. Next, your electronic mailboxes and addresses. The mailbox consists of a passive storage area, example file or a disk. So you have created an email ID, so that email has a mailbox. So this mailbox, so where it is placed in a passive storage area on the mail server. You can take a mail server, there your a separate space is given for your mailbox. So electronic mailbox is private. The permission are set to allow the mail software to add an incoming message to an arbitrary mailbox, but to deny anyone except the owner the right to examine or remove messages. So here you have privacy policies there. You are able to apply permissions to the mail software. So to whom, from whom you want to receive, and who can deny. But you can deny anyone if you don't want to receive emails from a particular owner. So you have right to remove messages. So a person who has multiple computer accounts can have multiple mailboxes. So a person has more than one computer account, so he can have multiple mailboxes. So each mailbox is assigned a unique electronic mail address. So email address is there. For each mailbox, a unique mail address is there. So full email address, it consists of contains two parts. That is, first part it specifies the mailbox on that computer, that is nothing but your name, what you are given. So the second part specifies the computer. So where that where that mailbox is saved or specified. So mail transfer. So how mail transfer occurs? So first what you will do first? First the user composes a message and specifies recipient. So what you will do? First you will type a message, then you will specify the recipients, in the sense to whom all you want to send the email. So email software then transfers a copy of the message to each. So what your email software, what it does? Transfer copy of the message to specified recipient. So in most systems, two separate pieces of software are required. So what are those? First, user interacts with an email interface program when or reading messages. So here with this email interface program is used. So other piece of software is the mail transfer program. So what it does, it handles the details of sending a copy of message to remote computer. So what this email transfer program, what it will do, this piece of software what it will do, it will help in composing and reading of messages. The other piece of software, that is mail transfer program, it will handle the details of sending a copy to other computers. So when user finishes composing an outgoing message, the email interface places the message in a queue that the mail transfer program handles. So what will happen when I have finished typing or creating my message, composing my message, that message, the email, what it will do, the email interface of piece of software, what it will do, it will place my message in a queue, so that the mail transfer program handles. So if the recipient is on the local computer, the mail transfer program appends the message to user's mailbox. So if that recipient is a local computer, that mail is appended to the user's mailbox. If the recipient is a remote user in the sense through a network, that recipient is a remote user. So mail transfer program becomes a client that contacts a server on the remote machine. So here what is happening, this remote user, to send a message, email to the remote user, what my mail transfer program, what it will do, it will act like a client here. So this becomes a client and it will contact the server on the remote machine. The client sends the message to the server. So what will happen now, this my mail transfer program that is acting like a client here, it will send the message to the server. This server, what it will do, it will place which places a copy of the message in the recipient's mailbox. So here you can see, as I said, there are two different pieces of software in the user that is email. There are two different softwares are there. Interface on that is mail transfer program is there, and mail creating. So your mail, once you have created, it will transfer through it will go through the internet, and on the recipient side or on the receiver end, the server, what it will do, it will receive the email first, then it is placed onto the or appended to the recipient's mailbox. Hope you have understood this class. Thank you.